Here we go. Welcome back to FlowState, everybody. How has your week been? I hope it's been full of presence and intention. We are focused on core values this week. The weekly content rhythm has been so wonderful, and I hope you've been enjoying. I hope that yesterday's live session was meaningful to you, impactful in your ability to derive clarity in your life, to be able to move the needle forward in a meaningful way. As always, welcome back to Flow State. Welcome back to the Growth Blueprint training curriculum. This is where we drop in to extraordinary locations and talk about personal development. And I just want to say the ocean is extremely active today, so it might be a little windy, and we'll see how things are flowing. Let me just turn the camera around. Wow, these are pretty cool waves. We're gonna go for a little walk down to this town and go through another town. So as with all Flow State episodes, if this is the first time you're dropping in, I am so grateful for your presence. I really wish the best for you in your life, in alignment, in actionable momentum that you create within yourself. Please, if you find value in this conversation, like, subscribe, and ideally drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from, what kind of questions you have that you'd like for me to answer and discuss on our Flow State series. It's something that I like to do, is respond to as many comments as possible, and right now I'm doing so, and taking it to the next level by discussing relevant comments that people have left recently. And it's a great way for you to have continuity from one week to the other, and to be able to hear your comment being addressed on camera as well. I think this is something that people appreciate because you get a deeper sense of clarity when I'm speaking directly to you, right? This is the benefit of group coaching. This is the benefit of one-on-one coaching or self-paced coaching through the Growth Blueprint course. And today our focus is on core values. We just finished a beautiful week on vitality, and to refresh your memory, the curriculum starts with the assessment and readiness course. Then we move into vitality, core values, mindset, time management and prioritization, aligned action, optimization and refinement, and commencement. And if you're new to this framework and cycle, this is our weekly rhythm that correlates to the core pillars of the Growth Blueprint curriculum, which is a self-paced coaching program that you can do on your own. And it's also the basis of the one-on-one coaching curriculum that I train and teach on. So this is available to everybody, and you can check the show notes for the relevant links. The most important thing, if you took one action item today, would be to join our Thursday live sessions, where we do a short training and group coaching on that week's topic, in addition to the Flow State newsletter, which also comes out on Friday. So that's my little welcome spiel, and let's get into it. Let's talk about your core values. And I say this for every week because each pillar is my favorite. I mean, there's no like starring I don't know, whatever the fuck. They're all super important, and they're all so much fun to engage with and to create new patterns for yourself based on these weekly curriculum reviews. And core values is near and dear to my heart, just like all of the pillars. And I want to start off by saying something you may have heard me say before. You either choose your values or they're being chosen for you. And life is way too fucking short to leave something so vitally important up to chance. And they get chosen for you simply by the context in which you were raised, the context in which you currently live and operate, and all of those micro factors that build up that context as a whole. So what I mean by that is, what side of the tracks you grew up on, what religious or non-religious background did you grow up with? Were you omnivores or vegetarians or vegans? Did you grow up with a lot of money, or was that always a contentious issue in your family? Were you part of a very loving and active environment, or was there struggle in your family when you were young? All of these things play a huge role in determining the unconscious selection of how you are showing up every day. And it's not just about a state of reactivity. It's about how we make our conscious choices and how the values that we have latched onto affect the decision-making process. It's true for the type of work we are engaged in. For example, did you come from a family of doctors or lawyers or military or plumbers or electricians or engineers, whatever, and was there a pressure for you to follow along that same path? Those are inherently part of the decision-making process of how we operate in life, how we choose to show up primarily with ourselves, within ourselves. And then secondly, for the extrinsic world in which we're interacting. And so for me, the value exercise, the coursework for the core values is so vital to the success of everything else that comes after it. And if you've been following along, you know that in order for us to start this journey together, we have to get clarity on where we are. That's assessment and readiness. And in the Growth Blueprint course, you find a bunch of different exercises that are part of that assessment and readiness course just to prepare your mind, your body, to be engaged in a different way of approaching your life. We also ground ourselves in getting clarity. We're not living in fantasy. We're being honest with ourselves. We're answering the questions in a truthful and authentic way that will only provide us benefit for the work that we're going to do next. You need the energy to propel your efforts, which is why vitality comes next. You need the energy to sustain the lifestyle that you want to create for yourself. Without it, it's an uphill battle. It already is an uphill battle. So why not prepare and prime yourself to make that journey as anti-fragile as possible? I mean, this is something that we address in the mindset course, but it's applicable to every step of this journey. And then core values. These are all foundational to creating an abundant life force, abundant energy force, abundant mindset of being in this state of creation, of active engagement with the world around you, as opposed to a reactive one that is grounded in unconscious behavior, one that is grounded in essentially just reacting to your environment. So many inputs that we are faced with every single day, work, family, personal, our mental state is really the driving force behind the overall quality of life that we are creating for us. This has nothing to do with anybody else. We are about taking extreme ownership and responsibility over our thoughts, our body, our actions, our capacity to impact the world. This is so vital to creating a powerful life, one that you are actually present for and not detached from. And the core values work is that foundation to get clarity on high level thinking that will fuel our granular actions that build our day. So the outcome of the course is a defined list of your core values, of which you really only want to have a maximum of like 5, let's say. And even that, I think, is a lot. I think 3 to 4 is a sweet spot. Now, you may have more, you may have 5, but I think when you start getting into 6 and that kind of thing, things get a little fuzzy, you know? The weight of each value kind of diminishes slightly because they really are the grounding force of every pattern, of every action, the rhythm that we create for ourselves on a daily basis. So you start, well, the end result is that you have your defined list of values in your own words. You take that list, you take those definitions, and you expand them into a larger paragraph, a statement, the combination of all of the values put together. Then you distill the essence of that statement into a 1 or 2 sentence mantra, something that you could memorize, something that will be very easy for you to read in very little time, but will create the impact that we're after. So the mantra statement is something that you can reference multiple times a day. It's something that I would encourage you to start your day with as a grounding meditative practice that does not take more than a minute to do in entirety. Even if you chose to read all of it, which is something that I do every once in a while. And so I'll start with the mantra, I'll read the statement, and then I'll go into the definitions. Because they're written in such a way that they overlap. There's some repetition of language, but the intention is to create 3 unique works of writing expressed to you as a mirror how you're choosing to show up with yourself. This is the first step, is how we choose to show up with ourselves, what it is that we're looking to embody every day. Everything needs to be in alignment with our values. And if it isn't, we have to address that, because compounding disalignment really gets you to a place of discontent, burnout, frustration, a profound misalignment with yourself, your identity, and what you want to achieve out of life. What is it that you're striving for? And the core values work grounds us in that practice every day. My morning ceremony, my morning ritual, my morning practice consists of, without fail, 99% of the time, because we're never perfect, is the reading of one segment of my core value output, whatever that is. I don't know. I have to define that, I guess. The totality of the outcome of the course, right? So you have your definitions, you have the statement, and you have your mantra. This morning, I just read my mantra. I stood outside, looked out into the ocean, felt the breeze, whatever. My situation is different than yours. But it's really not about your environment as much as it is about your mental state and your choosing to be active in that practice. It's not about just rushing through it. It's about really being mindful and being present. It's an opportunity for you to anchor yourself in the thing that you're after and start your day. Because when we are engaged in this practice, we are more mindful of our thinking, our actions, and then because of that, the output of our efforts are so much more on all levels than if we weren't operating from this state. Maybe I'm not going to go out there today. So let's break it down. We are inundated with information, with distraction, with other people's needs, that the way we look at ourselves can be so disjointed from where we want our effort and energy to be focused on. And by giving attention to something that we have determined to be of great importance to our life, we get into a rhythm that at first there may be a little resistance, and at first you may not necessarily want to engage in this practice, which is a natural state to be in. There may be this, let's say, motivation because you're hyped up and you have just finished the work that is required of you to get the output that we're talking about. And yet there's this resistance that you're feeling about, it's so easy. It just takes less than a minute to read, but yet it's not something that I actually feel like I want to do. And that resistance is something that we're working towards eliminating from all aspects of our life. It deals with this idea of procrastination, which is an interesting psychological construct that we eliminate through this process. Because when you operate from alignment, there is no overwhelm, there is no anxiety, there is no procrastination. You eliminate all of these things because all of your thinking, all of your actions are in alignment with what you have determined is what you want out of life. And because you've done the work, because you've gotten a deeper sense of clarity in what is meaningful to you, what is valuable to you in terms of how you invest your time, the output of those efforts, how you feel in your daily life, there's no space for procrastination because you're hungry, because you're always striving toward something that you can clearly see in your future. And the goalposts inevitably keep moving, and that's the nature of personal development. That's the nature of growth, is you keep growing until you die. And that's a beautiful thing. So this morning, this morning was a very cozy morning in our house. And the time just changed here. And we have a friend staying with us. So our daughter is camping in our side of the house because her bed is being used by a friend who's staying with us. And she maybe woke up a little earlier than she normally does because, I got up and whatever. And she was all cute. The window was open. You could feel the breeze coming in. It was a little stormy. And so it was a little crisp. It's like that kind of cozy feeling of fall, cool breeze coming in, the sun rising, that beautiful glow. And I picked her up, brought her into the big bed with my beautiful wife and then my daughter just laying, cuddling. And I went to go make coffee to go bring to my wife, and Shanti wanted a warm beverage, so I warmed up some chocolate for her, some cacao powder and milk with a dash of cinnamon and a little bit of honey to cut the bitterness. And there was just this moment of intense presence and connection. And I said something like, I was cuddling and being goofy and smothering her with kisses and stuff, both of them. And I said to Shanti something like, many years from now, if and when you choose to have kids, I can just see you smothering and kissing them, and then projecting in her mind that she would be thinking of this moment today when I was doing that with her and Liz in the bed. And in that instant, I started crying, and I could see my wife started crying too. And we didn't actually speak about it because it was like this kind of quick moment. But it's this addressing of our own immortality and the realization that at that moment, projecting into the future for Shanti having her kids, if and when she chooses, whatever. But in that scenario, she had kids, right? She's older. That Liz and I may or may not be alive then. And it was that intense feeling of sadness, but also joy that reminds us of the importance of life and the intensity, the hunger that we can have to create incredible moments, lasting memories. Not just for a scenario like that, but in our everyday life. How we choose to show up for ourselves and the world around us. It was such a beautiful moment this morning. I mean, just full of love and also a little sadness for the inevitable, but primarily because it was a sharing of energy in a way that resonated so deeply. And it's ephemeral, just like everything. All of this stuff comes and goes. But to bring it back, whether you have kids or not, whether you've had that experience or not, whether you can remember a time in your life that had that same quality, it's still a reminder in that sentiment of emotion that I felt this morning and that I could see on my wife's face as tears were slowly coming out of her eyes, and that emotional charge that you have one shot at this great and incredible gift, and not to squander it is really the essence of the work that I do, and the capacity within yourself to be intentional with everything that you do in your life. And the output of this presence, intention, is a life that is synergized and grounded in achieving, in striving, most importantly, feeling a certain way when we engage with whatever it is that we are engaged with. Now, everybody has different work, different life situation, and it's like money only goes so far. Once you can cover your monthly nut and more or less do what you want, it's like diminishing returns at that point, And so striving for abundance in a singular vision, meaning like I just want a lot of money, is not going to get you very far in life. You may get it, but you'll feel empty inside. You can have a lot of money and be unhappy. You can have no money, be unhappy. You can have zero money and be ecstatic, and have lots of money and be ecstatic. It's really up to you. But the amount of money you have in your bank account will never determine your current state for life, your appreciation for the small things, the little nuanced details that enrich your life in a way that is only available to you if you're present. Like, my state this morning could have been very different, and I might not have been present to these little nuance emotions, this connection, the bond that we have as a family, and my work in strengthening that bond as they get older, as I get older, how to support individuals in a more acute way that really amplifies their life for them, not to force them into one thing or another, but to support them in a holistic way, a way that really is one of empowerment and clarity and calm, not fueled by overwhelm, anxiety, things that can couple and become very debilitating for people, like this idea of abandonment or feeling like you're not good enough. All of these, pre-programmed character traits really stem from, our youth, our formative years being pushed onto us by society, by our parents, by our religious background or not, or a lack of religious background. And so the core value work is really, everything is important, right? But if you were just focused on one thing in your personal development, I would say core values is that defining moment for you. Ideally, I'd like to see you work towards being well-rounded in all of the core pillars, but the core value work is really the one that will, let's say, set you up for a life of alignment. Now, you may, I wonder if I can go here. They're just doing a little construction here. Right, and so it's not to say that the other, like understanding time management and prioritization, very important if you really want to create profound momentum in your life. But it's not going to do you much good if you're leveraging that time and aligning yourself to things that are not important to you because you haven't gotten clarity on those things. And that's where the core values practice comes in. That's where really getting clarity on what drives you on a deep and profound level. So there's also an order that one could consider within the values framework. And I have an order that I've laid out my values in because I think there's a hierarchy to the way they work, very much like the growth blueprint and the pillars, how they compound on one another. The values work can be structured in that. It's not required to do so, but it's one that may help structure the way you think about your values and the way you implement them in your life. We'll cut through this tunnel and go through the beach. So for me personally, discernment is my first value. Choosing wisely, having clarity as part of my process, choosing to engage with things and people and thinking that will serve me as a whole, not detract, and making choices that are in alignment with my long-term vision. Now, part of that, which I think is really interesting, is the ability to understand that some choices I make in the short term may not necessarily fit into the alignment of where I'm looking to go, but as a whole does fit into my alignment system as where I'm looking to go. And I'll give an example for this, okay? The example is that, let's say there's a night out that's planned. And the night out, like, so there's a DJ or something that I would want to go see, like, or a friend of mine who's DJing, or even for me, I'm a DJ. So in addition to doing everything else I do, right? And historically, all of my sets have been in nightclubs or environments that are like starting at 6 a.m. and go until whenever, or 4:30, 3 o'clock, whatever, late night kind of stuff. And so one of the things that I'm focused on in this season of my life is optimal living on all levels. And so what that means is ensuring that I get enough sleep. This is in direct opposite to DJing a party at 4:30 in the morning or whatever, or going out and having an all-night party. But at the same time, if it's something that I can premeditate and go in with intention and compensate for what I know is an outcome, then it is an alignment from a philosophical standpoint. Especially because it's not something that I do every weekend. I don't even do it every other weekend, and sometimes it doesn't happen once a month. But I'm the type of person that I go big or I go home kind of thing. Like, if I'm going out, I'm fucking going out. You know? I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, and the recovery time is built into that night. And because I don't do it often, I'm able to justify with confidence the amount of time that it will take me to recover. How much time are we on here? 34 minutes. Okay, cool. Sorry. So, in other words, it's in alignment through one of my core values of discernment because I'm intentional with it. because I have planned accordingly and I've made good choices, including the one to cut loose and to disconnect and to recharge and to get a little fucked up. And then to have to recover from that. And the recovery may take 3 days, it may take 4 days. Listen, the lack of sleep, and I'm a fucking animal. So once I'm in it, it's party time. You know what I'm saying? So I know, because of my nature, because of my love for the hedonistic experience of underground truth and after hours and the whole culture, and I grew up with this in Montreal, and that's where I started DJing, and that's where I started getting exposure to this kind of lifestyle and the output of creativity and being surrounded by artists and Detroit and all of that. I just felt a deep connection and passion to that. And so that's a part of me, I'm not a fucking saint here. I'm an individual who has put together a lot of life experience and has a deep sense of clarity and created a framework that is leverageable as a system to fit into your life, to be able to connect with you in a more deep and profound way. And I'm just simply sharing with you in this moment how one of my core values, discernment, fits into that, even when it's not in total alignment with my long-term vision and my ambition and what I'm striving for. And you can do both, is what I'm saying. You can do whatever you want. The one caveat to it is that you're intentional with it, that you fully understand the cost of what it means to engage in something, the consequence of doing whatever it is that you want, right? Having clarity with the outcome of what is going to happen. I love this area here. We're gonna do a little tour and then we're gonna walk back up. Amazing. So, a quick recap of how I can apply discernment, which is choosing wisely, in the context of, from the outside, could be something that people other than me would say, hey, is that a wise choice? Well, it is in the context of how I plan my life. So obviously it wouldn't be a good choice if you have substance abuse challenges and you know that being in an environment is going to trigger you in not the right way. Well, discernment in that regard would be to ensure that you do not put yourself in a situation that lends itself to temptation and are able to regulate that as part of your daily process. So intentionality is massively important in ensuring clarity, ensuring system alignment, right? It's like you saying you want to be healthy, but then you dipping into McDonald's. It's incongruous. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'm not suggesting like one McDonald's is not going to kill you. Probably not. I mean, it's definitely poison on all fronts. And, you know, it's the same kind of thing. You don't want to be going to McDonald's every day or twice a week or 3 times a week if you're trying to be healthy. That's just, it doesn't make sense. Having said that, let's say you've been going hard for a while You've been making gains, you're feeling really good, and you just have a deep craving, and I'm going to use this as an example, for McDonald's. You go with intention, with clarity, and you go and you fucking eat that, and you feel the way you do. You may feel great, you may feel not so great, and then you learn from that information. But you're doing it with clarity. You're doing it with intention and presence. It's not just like, oh, you walk by McDonald's, you're like, oh, McDonald's, let me go in there for a minute. Now, this could be anything. You may want to make yourself a cheesecake at home. You know, like when I eat desserts, I much prefer making a delicious dessert at home or sourcing from an exceptional bakery or a pastry shop, and I indulge. Like, I go for it. If I'm gonna eat sugar, I want it. I want a full plate of sugar. I want delicious layers compounding in my mouth like a fucking orgasm of deliciousness, you know? I don't eat it every day, every week, every month. So when I do, I want to indulge. And that's part of life too. We're not fucking robots. But living within a structure, living within big bright lines that define how we think and operate and seek information and experiences should be based on something, not just an impulse for dopamine, not just me in the moment like a child, like I want the fucking candy, so I'm gonna make a big mess of things until I get the candy. You're an adult, live like an adult. If you want freedom, lock in your core values. Choose them with intention to lead and guide your life, not as a reaction, but as conviction, with intention, with purpose. That's the biggest difference. That's the thing that defines those who have a deep sense of clarity and a direction for where they're going, and those who are just reacting to every situation that they're presented with. A car cutting them off in the road and them turning into a fucking psycho over nothing. Boom. Even someone doing something like that and it causing an accident, there's the initial shock of the thing that happened, but then after, how quickly can you reclaim your composure? How quickly can you take back control over your life as opposed to living in someone else's fucking energetic field? This is the work that we are all striving towards, right? Being in control of our faculties. Core values ensure the practice of being in alignment. And when you fall out of alignment, you have a tool to put yourself back in alignment. You have your own mechanism of accountability that you don't need anybody else's permission to engage in. You don't even need your permission. You just pull out your phone, you pull out your journal, and you read your mantra. And no matter what is happening, you have it laid out for you. If you're feeling discombobulated, feel like you're being taken out of your own energy and you're being manipulated by other things and overwhelm, and because, you know, we're all human, things happen. You pull out your phone, you read your statement, and instantly, if you've done the work, it'll set you right back into alignment. Because those are the most important variables in your life to strive towards. And ask yourself repeatedly, am I living up to the best version of someone who has discernment as their core value? Ask yourself these questions. Are you really showing up in a way that is emblematic of someone who blank. My second core value is vitality. I can't get a fucking enough. It is the best drug in the world, and I've done all of them. Haha. And I fucking love it. I love that power. I love to be able to throw my kids up in the air after a long day, after doing a podcast, after going to the gym, after standing up all day, striving in my own right, being depleted, being tired. And then my fucking daughter comes with a big smile, like, Daddy, and pick her up, throw her up in the air 10, 20 times. Get a sick little workout from doing that. But the point is to have that energy. No one's going to create it for you. You need to create it for yourself. You learn a lot about that in the Vitality course. But Vitality for me is an integral part to how I live my life. I want raw fucking energy. I want to wake up every morning with a massive heart-on for life and a massive heart-on. Because in that moment where I know that I prioritize my sleep, where I know that nutrition is fueling my ambition, where my supplements are there to provide that extra 1%, which I feel, my body and my mind. On the days that I train at the gym, which is every other day, that I'm able to show up focused as a professional who's looking to make gains cosmically, physically, energetically. On the days where I'm not at the gym, to not skip out on movement, to incorporate movement as a way of life. This is vital to the way I want to show up for myself. Lead by example for my kids, for my wife, for anybody who's a friend of mine. And the world, people I don't know. I don't know who you are. But I hope you can see a source of inspiration to make that 1% gain in your life, in the way you think about yourself. To take control over your mind and apply it towards the things and ambitions you have for yourself. It's an incredibly powerful rhythm to be undulating in. And of course, we're all human. There are things that happen that are deeply out of our control, as much as we are committed to keeping control over all aspects of our life. There are days, but then you don't rely on your state. You rely on your system. You rely on the things that are going to move you forward, like your core value statement, especially then, especially when you're not feeling it, especially when you're just like, you just wake up and, you know, something's off. Bam. Get into it. You don't allow for that resistance to take control. You break through that barrier head on with conviction, with momentum, because what is incredible is, especially on those days when you feel that resistance, but you don't have to rely on your state to do the thing. You have a system in place. You pull out your phone, you get your journal, you read the best version of you in that one statement, that mantra. it changes your physiology. You instantly shift from whatever state you were in to one of gratitude, to one of ambition, to one of future you alignment. Asking yourself reflective questions, just subconsciously in that moment. When you're reading that statement, you can't be upset and grateful at the same time. It's like you can't be fat and skinny at the same time. We're going to be battling with our emotional state from the moment we open our eyes the first time to the last breath we have, wherever that is. And so the more we are able to regulate and to leverage what we know is going to serve us, the less opportunity we have to drift. It's like the more practice, the more focus, the more presence, the less muddy the water. It's a horrible analogy, but basically I was just trying to say the more clarity you have. And the more clarity you have, the easier everything is, because you know why. That's the big question, right? Why? Like, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose? Why are we doing this? What is it? Why do I feel this way? You know? Check in with yourself in this moment. How do you feel? Are you well rested? Do you feel energized? Do you feel depleted? You in this state right now are a reflection of the past 3 days, more or less. How you slept, how you ate, how you moved, the quality of the relationships that you have. In many ways, it's a reflection of your inner ecosystem, which is an exercise that you would go through in the assessment and readiness course, which is available for free for everyone. It's a module that's available for free. If you're interested in exploring this, if this resonates with you, click the show notes, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see a link either to the website everydayactioncoach.com or the growth blueprint, and you can click on that, register, just drop your email and your name, and you can start the free modules. There's 3 modules that you can do for free. The rest you pay for. Just that exercise alone is worth the course in itself. There's so much value in this course. This is the curriculum. This is the foundation for growth and optimal living. And it has nothing to do with me and what I want out of life. This is specific to you and your interests, which is why it's so powerful. It's not like you're dropping in to someone else's idea of how they want to live. This is a manifestation of what is important to you, what is right for you, not anyone else, not your fucking parents, your brother, your sister, your boss. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about amplifying you. And the only way you can be in service to others, the only way you can truly love deeply and profoundly is if you take care of yourself. If you know what you're doing is in alignment, that just opens up everything. That creates opportunity for authenticity. That's not out of alignment. It's not about anything else, but fighting for what you believe in, showing up for yourself so you can show up for others. After vitality, this is a good one. For me, my 3rd core value, oh, it's so good. Arete. Excellence. Man. Coming from the Greeks, the Stoics, I just love this word. It's one that I smile at every time I see. And, you know, I think philosophically it goes beyond just excellence, right? But it's really the kind of like the position that I have taken with that word and what it means as far as my core values, right? And the wonderful thing about doing this exercise is that we're not bound to like Merriam-Webster or anything. You're using language that resonates with you in a way that empowers you. So when you read a classic definition and you're like, that word doesn't really sit well with me, you make it up. And that deepens your level of commitment to the values that you're creating and defining for yourself. You're not living into someone else's version of what that word means for you, right? Like if love is a core value, you could look up love in the dictionary and you'll have a definition of it, but your definition of love may be slightly different than what Merriam-Webster has to say. And that's good. That is deepening your clarity with regards to the way that word impacts your life and what you are going to do about it. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to better live with love as a core value? So arete, for me, I've simplified the word and the definition as excellence, right? In every area of your life. So excellence is not about being perfect, and I would argue that perfect and excellence are polar opposites. Because for me, excellence has to do with effort, has to do with alignment of thinking, to not be sloppy, to be striving for the best version that we can manifest, that we can create, that we can embody in that moment as it relates to doing whatever it is that we're doing. And that's for me personally. It means taking time for myself to prepare mentally and physically for the next task, whatever that is. That could be loving my children with the totality of all the presence in the world. And I can't do that if I'm in my head about something else. So living with arete further deepens that pursuit for me. It's something that I strive for. It's not about being perfect. That's gross. Because it's like, what a waste of time, this idea of perfection. There's no such thing either. It's just a construct that we have. Or this idea of good enough, you know? These are kind of like, what's the word? Derivatives, not derivative. Whatever, I'm gonna just say what I wanted to say, which is kind of low status energy, low status vibration, you know? Like for extrinsic reasons. Striving for excellence in everything you do means giving it my all, regardless of the quote unquote desired outcome, being in the process, being in alignment, choosing, right? It's like you go back, it's multifaceted. You have discernment, vitality, arete up until this point. I have one more. which, if you know me for more than 30 seconds, is not going to be a surprise. And my fourth core value is service. Oh, I love being in service. And I'm able to be in service in a meaningful way because I take care of myself. Because I look after myself in such a way that gives me the energy, the capacity, the presence to be in service to others in a way that will be impactful. And I'm not just talking about like doing someone a favor, you know? I mean, deeper, lasting, sorry, just lost my train of thought. I looked at the time. We're right at 61 minutes. I'm gonna keep going because I'm in flow. I try to keep this to about an hour, but we'll see. And I'm sorry about last week. I realized only after I got back that the audio had cut out. And learning from my mistake, I have a backup recording that I have never really, or the possibility to record independent audio, not just from the video, on the mic itself. So as a backup, anyways, I turned that on now. And you know, that's a great example of leveraging all of my core values in one decision, you know? It's like, make as many mistakes as you can possibly make, but make them once, maybe twice. But if you're making the same mistake 3 times or more, you got to address the underlying issue that is the driving factor for the gap in awareness. I am not at all perfect, right? We've already established that that word is kind of like a nasty word. And so, sorry. Oh, baby, it's all uphill from here. Let's see how much time I have left on my 29%. We got it, baby. We got it. Right, so just to bring it back, how to leverage the core values into practical tools, right? So we'll use this as an example. In that moment, I got back last week, skimmed through the podcast. I'm like, oh, there's no audio. That's weird. Went back to the original file. I'm like, huh, okay. Well, no problem. Publish it anyways, edit it, change the intro, inform people that the podcast ends early, put up a little slide, call it a day. Move on. Don't give much weight to that other than learning on how to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So obviously, there could be some technical issue with this podcast that is something I didn't know that I should have known, or just something that went wrong, out of my control. But at least I know that I have a backup audio recording, and that if for whatever reason the link between the mic and the video fails again, I should be good because I have that recording. Now, clearly there's other things that can go wrong, etc. And I will learn from those challenges, those issues that present themselves. They're not necessarily mistakes. You know, the first time that this happened was a learning experience. So it wasn't a mistake per se, it was simply just an opportunity for growth. Leveraging every opportunity that we have in our daily life for growth, for that 1% gain. Fuck it, for that 0.5% gain. It's bringing awareness to our actions, to our energy, to our state in order to live consistently in alignment with where we want to go. So living in alignment with my core values has been transformational. And this practice has been very consistent. And that's why it has had such a massive impact in my life and the people around me. And that's the point, right? It's not just about the impact we can have on our life, but that impact emanating out into the world, having a ripple effect, right? The better you are at showing up for yourself with integrity, with honor, with respect, with discipline, choosing what's right for you, being in service to other people. Now, I do feel service, I would never really recommend a core value to anyone, but there are a few that transcend the individual in their choice. And whether you have, for example, service or vitality as a core value, if you have a family, you are in service. If you're in a relationship, you are in service. So you might as well get clarity on what that means to you. It doesn't mean it needs to be a core value. It just means you're participating. And the quality of that service, that's up to you. Similar to vitality. Whether you want to embrace vitality as a core value or not, doesn't really matter. But moving your body more regularly than not is important. It doesn't need to be a core value for it to be important. Just because it's not part of your core value list doesn't mean it's not something that you hold in high regard for yourself, where your quality and intention is laser focused. It just means that the precedent of your operating system falls back to the default list of your core values, right? We're all about structure, meeting soul, equaling momentum. If you go to the homepage of everydayactioncoach.com, you'll see that right at the top. Structure x soul equals momentum. We are systems, humans. We are organic systems that live in a technological world that is heavily systemized, and you have your morning routine, whether you're conscious of it or not. You have your evening routine. You have your core values already. Are you choosing them, or are they being chosen for you? Is your evening routine a reaction of your environment and your situation, the lack of thought that you've put into it? Because it's there. Or are you systematically choosing how you want to feel, how you want to approach that routine? That to me is magic. That to me is an ingredient for success. And the more present you are, the more intentional you can be, the more clarity you can have with regards to your vision for yourself, the more you can live in that alignment, and the less temptation you will have for doing things that are outside of that alignment, even if it's temporary, like I referenced earlier. I go out hard every few months, let's say on average, right? like hard. Cut loose, baby. There's a few times a year for sure, depending on where I am. Burning Man was one of those moments. Carnival here is definitely another moment. Jazz Fest in New Orleans, another moment. You know, maybe one or two other one-off nights, but that's it. I'm locked in otherwise. And those serve as a vehicle to recharge me in a way that is different than my normal routine. One that I absolutely love and am constantly refining as part of the reflective process of optimization and refinement. Because when we refine, when we're able to look back and to analyze and to really, again, you know, I keep using this word, but it's so important, extrapolate clarity. When we have a deep sense of clarity in our life as it relates to all of the little things that make up our daily life, man, that is sweet, sweet, sweet momentum. I will leave you with one last concept, and that is to be present in choosing how you want to feel for every given activity, every given task, however you want to label it. Think to yourself how you want to show up internally for this next thing that you're doing. Are you entering into another meeting? Did you just finish a hard conversation with someone and now you're going home to meet your partner or your kids? These are all transitions. Every time you cross a threshold, it's a transition. Every block in your calendar creates an opening. Take a minute, take 30 seconds, take 5 seconds. It doesn't really matter. What matters is being present, having the intention of how you want to feel with that activity. So we'll use this one analogy, which is you've had your day at work, whatever that is, whether you're commuting home or whatever, it doesn't matter, you have a home office. Before you make that transition, and it could be multiple, you could do this exercise before you get in your car, you know, before your commute, whatever that is, you're at your desk, and you just breathe. Whatever your rhythm is for breathing, that doesn't matter. I can give you some basic framework here to practice, but it's less about that and more about the awareness of this transition, how you are choosing to show up and feel. So the process is you just finished work and you're getting ready to go home, or you just finished work and you're going for some social thing or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, right? You reclaim your composure, you bring awareness to your breath, and you accept what just happened, and you project into the future what is about to happen, right? You know that you're going home, but maybe you need to drive first. So you release the day and you step into driver you, right? I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm gonna feel clear, I'm gonna listen to my favorite podcast, my favorite audiobook, I'm not gonna listen to anything. I'm just gonna enjoy the drive home, and I'm not gonna be bothered by what's happening outside of my car because it's out of my control. I'm at peace, and I love myself. Then you get up. Now, by the way, all of those things I just said, I was just riffing. It's whatever you feel is right for you in that moment. And that's not the practice. The practice is the process of simply doing that. It's the awareness that you bring to yourself. It's you focusing on your breath, driving presence, pushing out distraction, and thinking how you want to feel about your next activity, right? Then you go and you engage in that activity. Let's say you're at home, you pull in the driveway, and unless you have someone waiting for you with big open arms, you park your car and you take 30 seconds and you do that all over again. First of all, something to consider is that you survived. No one really stops to consider that they survived getting in a car and getting out without being injured in one way or another. That is fucking insane, right? It's like, it's so automatic. It's like a whatever thing for us now, humans, that is, getting in and out of cars, thinking everything's gonna be okay. And you know what? Sometimes it's not. And it's one of the most dangerous things that we just fucking do every day without any regard for it, right? We're not even present to the fact that this may be the last moment of our life. So I don't do it a lot, but I am constantly reminding myself of the fact that, wow, hey, I'm alive. How fucking great is that? So you pull into your driveway, you just do a 30-second meditation. Focus on your breath, release anything that happened. Maybe somebody cut you off and you're like, not today. I'm gonna reclaim my power in that millisecond. But it was close, I almost lost it. And why suffer? It's crazy. People get so enraged. They have no capacity to regulate their emotions. That's why you're here. This is the work that we do. It's not any one thing. So you breathe, you release, you channel the very best of what you have to offer. And then you embody that fucking spirit, baby. You show up, you give your husband, your wife, your kids a big hug with that smile of pure love and energy on your face that says to them, I'm here, I'm present, I love you, I'm so excited to be here with you. Smother them with kisses. Show them how much love you have for them. Embrace them. And be there for them. That's their time. Don't worry about everything else. That's not right in front of you. Take this opportunity and roll deep with it. Oh, baby. I'm feeling the juice. 78 minutes uphill, riding high. And it's gym day, baby. Oh, I fucking love it. All right, on that note, this was a great episode. Really felt it. I appreciate you being here. Please, if you have found value in this episode, like, subscribe, share this with someone close to you. Please drop a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions, reach out to me in the comment section. Connect with us in Everyday Action, our private community. We go live every Thursday. I hope to see you there. Peace. Till next time.